I don't know why I said okay to this, because it's too early in the morning to do things. But, you know, when you get a chance, you get the chance to put things together. You put your pants on and you go to work-ish. I got Daniel Herrera sitting in today. We're going to talk about some of this campaign and stuff that's going on. But we are almost in agreement at gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider. While you're at all those places, please give us a like, share, follow, retweet, subscribe, whatever it is. Help us get the word out. And tell your friends about us. Like, actual real word of mouth is a really good way to get about the word out. I'm going to stumble. I'm going to fumble. I'm going to be all bleh for this one because I just woke up. But we're going to do it. We're going to have a good time. So I'm going to let this podcast intro thing that I made play out, and then Daniel and I are going to chat. All right, so I got to start with the most important thing I can think of. Did you get married yet?
Yeah, man, I got married.
Congratulations, because last time you were here, you brought her with you, and it was a fiancé situation.
Yes.
So now it's a real one. So congratulations on that, as well as I hear you're having some fun practicing law around town and being successful in that as well. So good on you, sir.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Seth. How are you doing, man? How are you good with you?
Good, man. Staying busy, for sure. This is quite a cycle we've got squared up.
Yeah, there's like a lot more candidates. It's like everyone in the county's up this time, for mostly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we got all the judges and stuff, and like, I don't know, because I haven't even started looking. I mean, Chris Davis brought me a printout of everything that'll be on ballots this year.
Yeah.
You know, and so just in this primary, which is county stuff only, there's 3, 6, 9, 12... 16, 17, 20, there's about 28, depending on that, but that includes like repeats on districts, so you know that's
right. Yeah.
But nonetheless that's 28, at least 2 people, so that's 50 something, 60, and then you know, a handful of races have 3. Well, we got 4 or 5 running for mayor now.
Right.
And so I got to try to cycle through as many of these as I can to try to get something out. So printed off my official version of the petition list, so unless anybody else quits, we have the list.
Yeah, and I don't know what that deadline is. I know you have a certain amount of time that you can request.
It's like a week. It'll be either Wednesday or Thursday of next week is when the cutoff to rescind your petition, I guess is the term. Right. And so, you know, there's been this last week, there was a lot of moving and shaking around the list, but I think now it's pretty well settled in. And so it's going to be fun. And it seems like realistically, there's a good number of seats that the primary is the race. And so as a party, how do you guys deal with that?
Well, you mean, what do you mean by that is, like there's no Democrat or independent challenge? Is that what you mean? Well,
I mean, essentially, you know, it's like, at least on some level, like how much does the party get involved in the primary process, or is it?
We really can't, and that comes from our state bylaws, right, and our county bylaws as well. I mean, we're not, you know, advertising for primary candidates. We're not doing anything of that. In the past, you know, I've known some GOP chairmen and chairs have kind of done kind of like town hall kind of debate styles or introduction things. I'm not sure if we're going to necessarily do that for these primaries. But yeah, we're just going to completely, for the most part, you know, probably stay out of it. Just let the candidates kind of just fight it out on their own.
Yeah. Cause I was like, that's what Matt basically was telling me, that the Democrats have the same kind of premise. They don't touch primaries. If there's a primary, that's their business. And then once they become the official nominee, then they go and start going to work.
Yeah, and I'm sure our bylaws pretty much kind of like match in that kind of area. So, yeah, I think the political parties for the most part are going to have to just sit back and just let the candidates, whichever one emerges out of the primary, that's going to be our person in general. And then at that point, you know, we can spend money on mailers or knock doors or do whatever we need to do for them.
Yeah, and I mean I guess that's the point of where I started. That is, there's a handful of races that are primary, that are basically going to be the primary only. I have to go check again. I mean, like sheriff's an easy one.
Yeah, I mean, most of the judges. I think the only judge that caught in a primary is
Sarah.
Yeah, that's right. Sarah Keith running against oh gosh, why am I blanking on his name? I got the list pulled up right here, but yeah, Sarah Keith is running against Chuck Cerny. That's what it is.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's okay. So then I guess it's broad strokes then is what we need to go at. So I make sure I don't just randomly talk about people that aren't really not outside of the circle, but
sure. And then you have the district attorney general catching the Charmaine Allen caught a general election as well. So
yeah, which is good. I like the one that surprised me. I thought Biggs kind of had the trustee as a free run. Like it seemed like nobody had any interest in. And then like last week we had 2 more people enter.
Well, we anticipated Democrats were going to pull petitions and run a general election. I mean, it's just a matter of which seats were they going to go after. We knew they were going to do someone for county mayor. I mean, that's obvious, So yeah. we were just trying to keep track of who was running against what here. So yeah, I don't think they have a sheriff candidate. They do have a circuit court clerk candidate, Dana Moran. They had someone pull a petition for county clerk against Sherry Witt, but it was not returned. Registered deeds. Nick McBride has a general election. It's Scott Crammond. I think I'm saying that correctly. Run on the Democrats. And in District 1 school board, we don't have a Republican running in that district, but there are 2 Democrats and 2 independents running in that district. School board District 4, we have a Republican.
Hey, you might be able to. I already had on that school board District 1, Mr. Jackson. He's not a Republican by any means, but I think he's probably closest that you could get if you want to throw any support towards a candidate that's closer to your end on a seat that you have no actual
GOP. Yeah. Reginald, I think we only spoke like twice over the past 2 years, so I don't have that kind of relationship with him. If he reaches out to me, we'll have that conversation. The only problem is I'm not sure if our bylaws will necessarily allow that, because this is a partisan election, right? So we're supposed to be supporting Republicans. Now, an independent is a different affiliation than not having an affiliation.
Right. Like Sherry Garrett put a funny one on me. It's the first time I get the premise, and it's Sherry's running in that seat 7 race for school board.
Yes, yeah.
And there's a Republican, a Democrat, and an independent, and as a what's the word I want to use here? Maybe a tool in campaigning. She kind of gave the question to, our independents hiding something? And it's like, well, no, there's only 2 parties that you're allowed to run as. And if I'm not part of one of those parties, what am I supposed to do?
I'm sure if we had a Green Party, a Libertarian Party that was actually recognized, we might have 1 or 2 candidates each cycle. I'm telling you, when I lived in like Charlotte, North Carolina, they recognized the Libertarian Party as the third party. So, they had a primary. Yeah.
Well, it's state law stuff that apparently there's a couple of bills this session.
Yeah, I saw that. There was to recognize.
May lower the threshold.
That's right. Yeah, to lower the threshold on the signatures, I believe.
I was talking to, I don't know if you know Eagle. He was the LP chair for a while.
Oh, yeah, of course I do. John. Yeah,
and he's left for a lobbyist group or whatever you want to call it. And one of the things that's one of their kind of core things in their action committee, I guess is what he likes to call them. And we were talking about it. He said,
I'm all about increasing ballot access, man. I just think that's a good thing.
Well, he was saying that like there's been some version of this that's gone through session for like 10 years straight, and they just never get off the ground.
Okay.
But I'd have to go back and find that episode and recall the details. But maybe there was a big push 10 years ago, and then it fell off, and now it's back again. Maybe that's what he was saying. But nonetheless, it's not a new thing. It's just one of those whatevers. And so, all right, broad strokes here. In county races in general, what's the overarching theme of the GOP for this cycle? I think there's definitely some topics that are already starting to clearly pop up as far as some of the partisan divide about where Republican and Democratic candidates kind of stand. But what's of those topics, which are the ones that you guys are starting to work out the game plan for? These are the topics that we're going to make a top issue here in these county races.
Yeah, so that's going to be like we can't necessarily just blanket that because of how many offices there are, right? Like if we talk public safety, that might not necessarily, work for like a school board candidate or a judge or a county trustee. I mean, it's just so many running. I'm not sure we're going to have necessarily like these are our top 3 issues for the county, right? Because we're going to have to do one for like each race. Okay. So we'll be working with the candidates on that. I know like for circuit court clerk, right? Charlie Susano, he said in the past that he's trying to make our courts a little more easier by having online filing, right? And that's something that, I mean, right now, if we wanted to file something, we have to go in person to the courthouse, right. And you could be an attorney, out of Kingston. You're going to have to drive all the way down to Knoxville to have something filed. So I know that, Sherry Witt, has talked about adding more online services as well. Nick McBride, the same thing. For the sheriffs, I'll be honest with you, so as an attorney, I know what an attorney does and I know what the sheriff does. But I'm not going to pretend I know what the administrative side of the sheriff's is. Right. Well,
I think that's one of the overarching things for me that I'm trying to work on through this cycle. Sure. Like, especially with like a Sherry Witt or a Nick McBride.
I would absolutely encourage you to reach out to like Charlie Susano and Sherry Witt.
I had Sherry last week, and she was interesting. Okay. We had to squeeze it through. It was a little shorter than I wanted to. We had a little flub on the scheduling. There was a little confusion actually on whether she was going to come in the studio or I was going to go into her office. Sure. And so we ended up throwing a last minute Zoom meeting together. But I think one of the things that's a misnomer about a couple of these positions, the county clerk being one of them, is it's an administrative job.
Right.
And it's like, I would wager that if we went out on the street and just started asking, people walking their dogs or whatever, what does the county clerk do? They're going to tell us what the county clerk's office does. They're going to tell us that, they go get their license plate and their driver's license and their marriage license and, file paperwork X, Y, and Z at that office. And even in like, when I was trying to research it to figure out what the job was, all the state paperwork and the state law, the way it describes it is what the office does.
Right.
And so like the question I keep coming back to, and I asked Sherry directly, I was like, what do you actually do as the clerk? Because the clerk and the clerk's office are not the same thing. Right. And I think that's one of the things that the average citizen doesn't quite understand about what we're voting for on that one. We're voting for the person, the boss of that office, not
right. Yeah. You're not voting on the task of the office or their hours, right? You're not picking their, we're going to extend another 2 hours of the office. Yeah. You're voting on the top administrator.
Right. And I think, I don't know. I just think it's one of those, to me, the further I'm getting into it, the more I'm understanding that the county clerk, the trustee, the register of deeds, most of our court clerks is a very narrowly defined, well-structured position. It's the administrator. You're keeping you're mostly handling staff and basic office policy. You're not changing, Sherry Witt's case. You don't get to change the license plates. You don't get to pick this new blue license plate thing or not. That has nothing to do with you. The state drops it down. It's your job to get that access of those new license plates to the county that you were overseeing the clerk's office for. And so again, like it seems like a fine line, but I don't think it is. And I think that's something that's important to get out.
Yeah, I understand. I think the court clerks have a little more, I don't want to say leeway, but they have a little more authority, right? Like they can set, it's my understanding, they can set the court filing fees. They're the ones that can extend office hours, or they can accept service by mail and those kind of things as well. So, I think, when it comes to the county clerk, again, I'm not necessarily sure what that office, what the administrative side of it actually is. But I mean, there's a lot of there are a lot of offices that the county clerk has, around Knox County. So I would imagine that does require someone who has a little more administrative skill, maybe someone who can deal kind of like with maybe some HR issues or an HR background as well.
Sure, absolutely. That's how I kind of started generically describe it. It's a personnel officer.
Yes.
It's a personnel and a little bit of a CEO in the sense that, we want to do a satellite office. We're allowed to by law. We want to make it more convenient for our constituents to use it. So let's put this one like we used to have the one in East Town Mall. That was, I don't think that was Sherrywood. I think that was before her. But, they have to make that decision, go through the budget, make sure they can justify the expense of that, the staffing of that, and then be able to show, hey, we put this one out there. A lot of people are using it. It's worth the money we're spending on it. Right. And so, but again, I feel like that's not how the average people perceive this race, and a couple of these races like that, because it's such a foreign premise to the everyday person, because they don't think about the administrative side of most of these offices, except for the mayor or the sheriff, because those are easy. Those are administrative titles.
Right, exactly.
And I don't know. Again, it's just like one of my missions has become trying to understand better and then trying to articulate what the actual job of these people that we elect are. Because like you said, we can't have an overarching theme for our candidates, because what a school board member can do and what a commissioner and what a judge can do are not the same thing. So we can't say, oh, well, we're all running I don't know, what's a random Republican tenant that we could just
we're all running on public safety and roads or stuff, I mean, look, like I said, public safety. Yeah, I can see a commissioner doing that, right? Or the sheriff going, hey, we're gonna run on public safety. We're gonna do what we need to do to make sure our community is safe. But you can't really do that when you're running for judge, because now you're bringing up a potential conflict, right? Especially if you're one of those that do criminal court stuff. You can't say we're gonna be tough. We're gonna lock every criminal up. I mean, you can't really say that as a judge, because you have to hear the facts first. See,
because I think that to me too, that's one of my kind of new, as I'm understanding it, I'm not sure I think we should vote for judges. I think we should have a shortened term. I like the 8-year term, maybe even the 6-year term that the commission and the mayor may appoint, instead of it being, being the selection process. Because I don't know. I mean, essentially, the best reference that's out there is that you're going to get one if you haven't already. The county bar does their
they do their KBA survey and all that.
Because that's going to be the best reference for people that actually want to put some effort into it. Because I mean, like I had Mr. Cole in here. I recognize his name because he's on political science. I've never heard of him I've never had the opportunity to work with him as my attorney for some case or something like that. And so he has no track record as a judge. So what do I use to make a decision on somebody like that?
Honestly, that's a great question, because when judges run for office, right, they have to abide by the campaign finance rules, right? But there's a whole different area,
right? The ethics set for them,
right? The judicial canons, right? Where they can't make a statement that could be deemed like what you would do on the bench. It's very, because they can't even ask for money directly; they have to do it through a committee. Yeah. so like I know a lot of judicial candidates, they won't even bother grabbing the check. They're like, no, you have to give the check to my campaign manager. I can't touch it. So those judicial ethics, in my opinion, I think they're a little dated, because it kind of seems like, I understand the point of it. I understand the point, right? It's because you don't want to have a judicial candidate influenced, but I feel they're too restricting on judicial candidates. So the best part about that stuff though is, for example, judicial candidates say that a judicial candidate cannot talk negatively about another judicial candidate. Well, that kind of goes out the window in modern times, right? I understand what that is, right? It's keep the integrity of the court. But if you think about a modern race right now, political parties are going to do that. They're going to slug opponents, right? I mean, a PAC can be formed to slug opponents. I mean, and you completely circumvent kind of the judicial candidates in a way. Politically, anyway.
Right, and then it's not necessarily under then it's absolutely not under the control of the candidate themselves.
That's it.
And so the idea of, hey, this guy that I'm running in, he's got a track record of X, Y, and Z. That's a negative thing. I can't say that because I'm running, but this pack over here could say it, and they don't have to be quite as articulate.
And they don't want to be nice about it.
Right. I could be articulate and clean about it because I know the guy. He's a good dude, whatever, but I just don't think he's good for the job. Where the PAC's got an agenda, and that's to get that guy not elected, and they're going to be a lot less fun about it. I am excited to see how beat up my mailbox gets this year. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I think you're probably going to get a ton of mail. But you know what? You know what's better than mail? Getting people on the show, man. I hope you can squeeze as many people as possible.
I mean, I've had a pretty good run so far. I mean, I've closed a couple of the races. Like I've got one at large in commission I haven't talked to yet, but I've got everybody else.
Okay. Yeah, I know you said you I don't know if the Larson J one's up yet, but
that was yesterday, so it just got up. The only one I don't have is at large 11 Bridges, who's running as an independent. I've closed out a couple of the school board races. I had District 1 all scheduled in school board, but then the Charles Frazier add-on, so I got to find him and talk to him. District 7, I've got everybody on. See what else. I got Jimmy scheduled. I've been talking to Spangler to get a schedule for him. I had Sherry Witt. The judges are the ones that I don't like. The judges are the bottom of my list just because, like I said, I don't know why we vote for them in the first place.
Right. And they also may not want to come on and I, respectfully, because they don't want to, being in that, if I was in their situation, I probably wouldn't do anything.
I mean, honestly, I don't know why they would do anything. Not just me. It's not about me and my show. It's like, what are you gonna talk about? You could talk. Cole came on, and he's like, my experience. I've been at this for a long time. Here's history on X, Y, and Z, but mostly it's me and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, but again, in context of I don't know what I'm looking at. If all you're going to do is tell me how great you are, then you're going to come out looking great.
Sure.
But I don't have context, and I can't make context on my own because I don't know anything about judges. And again, I think that KBA thing or whatever it's called, I think is probably the most useful reference, and so I'm looking forward to getting a copy from somebody.
Yeah, I'm sure I can
stats come out,
or I can send you the results of it once it's published.
Yeah, and then I had probably my favorite position in county is public defender Eric Lutton. I already had him on. He's great.
Oh, Eric's awesome. You want to talk about a guy who like practically worked that entire office. I mean, he started off, I think, as like an intern in that office, then did every little like grunt position, did everything, always stayed late, to now running that office. I mean, that man knows that office inside out.
Yeah, and for me, that's been a really fun story just because 2020 was a special election because his predecessor retired. He was appointed to the position by Governor Lee. Ran and won to keep the seat, and then this is now actually an official election where the other one was a special election, and so now he's getting his actual one election under his belt, and nobody's running against him. So good for him. But
yeah, good for him because I'm telling you, take that party label off. Take that Republican label off right now, and I'll still be saying the same thing about Eric. I mean, that guy. That office is him, man.
Right. I think it's really cool. I think that's one of those things I wish there was more. I think there was one of many things I wish more people paid more attention to because I think it's amazing some of the stuff that office does. Right now they're halfway through this Harvard thing about how different they're doing stuff so that other communities can use the model that Eric helped create with his predecessor and is continuing to do. And I think that's a really cool thing that, again, had it not been that special election in 2020, I would have never talked to him and never known anything about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The public notice office, man, that is an office that, in my opinion, should have more funding.
Yeah.
And more attorneys because they do incredible work, especially when it comes to mental health as well. A good criminal defense attorney, right, would ask and would examine whether or not the defendant is actually in good mental health, right? And that I'll tell you right now, public defender's office in Knox County kicks ass, dude. They have some attorneys that if they fight the state, they throw the whole kitchen sink and house at them. Right. I mean, they don't just try to like plea you out and just get a deal.
Right, but to me, that's one of those things that's interesting. If you're trying to kind of watch this show as it happens, is you're a state employee fighting the state.
Yeah,
and it's got to be a weird dynamic sometimes when they get going on different stuff, because you work for the state, they pay I guess you're not fireable. I guess you'd have to get Eric to fire you, but the state is the employer, but you're also in the process of fighting against the state. So it's quite a dynamic that's going on down there. And like you said, and I agree 100%. I think it's one of the coolest offices we have in town, doing a lot of really good stuff, not just trying to keep people out of jail. So I don't know. Like I said, we got this May primary, so we got a little while. What I would like to do, and I would like your help in doing, really, is I'd like to set up a couple of actual debates.
I'm more than happy. Look, if that's what you want, I'm more than happy to. I can't say the candidates are going to do it, but I'm more than happy to at least make that connection and encourage candidates. That's not an issue. Because I think let me go on the record now and encourage people to get on this podcast.
Because I think there's a lot of stuff already kind of in the ether of all these different races that I don't know who or where we're going to get some straight head-to-head. This is A, this is B. Because even I can't do it. Because
do you want like Republican, Democrat, and Independent, or do you want like, hey, the three Republicans running in this race and it's only Republicans?
I don't know. I mean, I'd rather go post primary, except any of the ones that don't that the primary is the race. Like, I don't know. What do we have that's a Republican only primary? Counties Commission 7.
Commission. No, not 3. Never mind. 3 has 2 Democrats. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Commission.
The sheriff, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not sure I would want to do that one personally. I mean, not in my house at least. I'm gonna have to find I'll have to find a neutral location to do that in, just because that's a. Right. I don't know. They have a pretty solid history already, and I don't want that fight to be in my house, especially with 2 guys that are allowed to carry guns everywhere all the time. But it would be fun. I'd be scared to death of that one, but I'll do it. I'm crazy enough. Yeah, but I mean, really, the only one that I would want to do pre-primary would be, I think, District 7 and Commission, just because that is the race. Because where'd it go?
Rhonda, 3 Republicans, looks like it. Chuck Severance, Ellen Merritt, and Rhonda Lee.
Yeah. But it's all Republican, so there will be no general.
Right.
So that's the only one that I'd like to try to squeeze in before May. But post May, I want it to be like, what the public actually.
Yeah, you want the party. Okay, that's fine.
All right. So here's a nuanced question that most people won't. Another thing that we are all voting on. Well, not all of us, but I mean, I probably will. All right. So the first thing is, I'm probably going to pull a Republican primary. Is that a problem for you?
Pull a Republican? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I go in on May 3rd for primaries, and I get to choose a Republican or a Democratic primary ballot, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, you mean pulling the ballot? Okay, I thought you meant you were going to run. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's too late for that. There was talk of me running for trustee, but we backed off that.
Hey man, they were throwing rumors out I was running for judge, so yeah, I understand.
So.
No, look, we don't have close party primaries in the state. We don't have party registration. And if that's what you want to run, if that's what you want to vote in, by all means, you probably don't meet the bona fide Republican status to run for office.
I absolutely know I don't.
Yeah, so it's not like, but
that's one of the things that's weird to me. Like, I get it, I understand it. Like, as far as the way the structure's set up and all that kind of stuff, I get it. But at the same time, just to mess with Chris Davis, I might actually go to. When I go pull my primary, just point to some random person in the room and be like, whatever primary they pulled is wrong, and make them do the process just to watch it.
You are more than welcome to do that in the state of Tennessee. That is not easy.
And get Chris real mad at me, even though Chris says he likes me. We'll see. God, I lost my train of thought on that. Going to pull.
So are we going to have people crossing over, and are we going to have Democrats voting the Republican primary? Probably, and I'll tell you why. Because sometimes that's the only choice you have in that district. Like District 7, right?
Right.
Are you going to have Republicans voting are you going to have Democrats voting in the Republican primary? Probably. I mean, there's no Democrat running. I mean, Democrats can pull a petition. I mean, we say Democrats, but again, we don't have party registration, right? So it's just a voter with a Democrat history pulling a Republican ballot, and that's. I mean, it's like I said. I
know the state party wants to close primaries.
Well, I'm all for party registration. Every state I lived in had party registration. So I think
I'm not because I'm not. I want as many options as I can, and if we close primaries, I'm not a party person. And so, if I lived in District 7, I'm stuck with whoever the Republicans pick as my school board or commission candidate because I choose to not affiliate. And I think that sucks. That sucks on a couple levels. It sucks that we don't have other people running to have a general. That's the first part of it that sucks, because just get somebody to run as a Democrat or an independent, then we have a general, then you have a choice. But
I suppose, you're not wrong, Seth. I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah, if you close primaries, there were people who don't want to register as a Republican. They're going to have to just, in essence, if they don't run themselves or there isn't an independent or Democrat running, you pretty much have no say in the primary process, and you only have one candidate to vote for in the general election.
Right. All right. So what I would shift to, because this is another thing that's on the ballot that I never paid attention to before, and I will have it because I am going to pull a Republican primary. We will have. I guess this will be in the August ballot, not the May one. But
I have, to be honest with you, I haven't even looked at the August stuff. But.
Well, the only thing I'm bringing up is it's state executive committee races are on the August ballot.
That's right.
I don't know. Give me a Cliff Notes version of what's going on with that. I understand it, but I don't think most people really it's just some R name on on their primary.
The bottom line here is the Republican state executive committee. Democrats have them too, right? Democrats have.
You've got. Yeah, I mean, I've got the list here. Hold on. Republican state executive committee, District 5, 6. District 5 has got the man and woman. District 6 has the man and woman. District 7 has the man and woman for the Republican. 5, 6, 7 for the Democratic State Executive Committee, the male and female for both those, or for each of those districts. So districts 5, 6, and 7, whether it's a Democratic or Republican Executive Committee, we will be on your ballots in that August primary, whichever ballot you pick up. And so these people are blank. That's what I'm asking.
essentially the members or the voting members of the state Republican primary, state Republican Party. Okay, so think of it like Congress members, right? Like each district has a congressman, and they go to Washington. These are essentially our representatives that go to Nashville to meet at the Republican Party business executive meetings. And
so real quick, those districts match state Senate districts. Is that what it is?
Yeah, Senate district. Yeah, I should have said that. But
no, I think that was my assumption, but then it just kind of dawned on me as you're saying it. So for me, I'm in District 6, so I'd only get to vote for the one man and woman in that district.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, because these are those little things that I've done 1,000 times in voting, but I never pay attention to what I'm actually doing. Yeah,
no, those are really important positions actually, because they do two things. They pick who the state party chairman is, right? So they can go ahead and say, hey, like for us, Scott Golden is our Tennessee GOP chair. They can go, Scott, thank you for all the good work you've done. We're going to renew you as our county chair, as our state chairman. Congratulations. Or they can go, Scott, we're going to go with someone else. Thank you for your time. I imagine Democrats mirror that. I would imagine so. But again, I can't really speak to that. For the Republican state executive committees, they also do, let's say a candidate's credentials were to be challenged on the ballot, right? So they're not saying they're a bona fide Republican or a bona fide Democrat. On the Republican side, when there are challenges, the two SEC members of the district that the candidate's running in need to either vouch or give the thumbs down to the state chairman to allow them to be on the ballot. So if the two SEC members are going, hey, he's not a bona fide Republican, Mr. Chairman, we encourage you to take him off the ballot, and the chairman can do that.
Right, and so the current members that are in those seats right now are going to be doing that in the next couple of weeks. if there's any challenges, because I think that I've already heard there's a few challenges out there.
There are. So on the Republican side, there are 2 challenges that have already been filed. As far as I know, they've reached out to those challengers, or the people filing the challenges. They've reached out to me and they CC'd me in an email that they sent over to the state chairman. And I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure if I can say it because I don't think they've been notified yet. So, and again, I'm still waiting to hear back from the state chairman. That these filings were actually done. I don't know. I mean, I'm not necessarily sure what's going to happen.
Well, because I get it on a practical level, especially in a good swath of Knox County, which is generally Republicans are probably historically over the last decade or so winning 9 out of 10 races. Sure. And I want to run for trustee. I'm going to run as a Republican because I have a better chance of winning, even though my bona fides are not going to clear the benchmark. And so it's just here's
the thing, Seth. If no one calls you out on it, you're on the ballot.
Right,
it requires a negative action.
Right, and I think that's an interesting little subpoint of it that I get. I don't think people, we went through it in depth with the Oster-Mandis race in 20, which was really fun. I got to sit through a state SEC meeting on the phone, and it was a really interesting thing to just kind of sit back and be a fly on the wall for, because I wasn't participating. I was just listening as a media person. And watching the kind of gears work. And it's one of those that, again, like for me, the whole premise of the show, and especially when we're in campaign season, is there's a lot of moving pieces that nobody pays attention to. Maybe not nobody pays attention to, but us out here, the general public, the people that actually make the difference in the election, because I don't know how many, if we did register, I don't know how many people in Knox County would register as Republican or not. But like if we look through historically through elections and stuff, it's not that cut and clear that there are that many like hardcore Republicans or that many hardcore Democrats. It's a flux of Knox County residents. And so the realistic voter out there on the street has no idea of all this stuff going on and why the things go the way they go, and how the machine works behind the scenes. Bona fides being one of the interesting ones that I never thought about until back in 2020, watching the Oster-Mandis race, because that's my district, and because I just started the podcast trying to figure out all the stuff that's going on. Yeah. And so it's like, I get it, and then I don't. But I think part of that is the result of, and I think you already said that you agree with me, part of that's a result of being stuck in this very difficult system where if you're not a Republican or a Democrat, you have to run it as an independent. And as much as they shouldn't be the entirety of your campaign, but the label does make a difference, especially historically in Knox County.
In Knox County, that label could make or break a campaign. I mean, it just can. There's the joke is, you can win a Republican primary, take a vacation until election day, come back and you get 60% of the vote.
Right.
It's that label is strong. I mean, it's a valuable label. There's reasons why we have contested primaries. There are reasons why, these incumbents are being challenged. Like we said, Eddie Pridemore, Chancellor Pridemore, he's being challenged by Bud Armstrong and Dino Cole. So that Republican label, man, I'm telling you that can carry you, and it'll take years until we start seeing a significant diminish on that, like labels, like. Power. I think, and I've told this to some of my county executive committee members and some around the county, around the state as well, that it's not enough to just rely on the Republican label. I mean, 10, 15 years from now, if we don't continue to actively recruit new candidates and get into better communities, like we launched the Latino Initiative this year, and we had our kickoff a few weeks ago. We have some great people on there. The Latino Chamber of Commerce came out. They have access to like 35,000 members, and it's just an area that we really need to do, because again, if we just sit back and say the county is going to always go red, if we just sit back and that's it, I'm sorry, but that's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, I think because I think one of the things right now, especially, I think I think this election cycle, you're probably pretty safe on them running on the R's. You're going to be okay.
We'll be absolutely safe this cycle. Look, our votes are there. The demographics are there for it. Our numbers are there. The thing is, can the party say the same thing 15, 20 years from now?
Right.
In my opinion, no. If we don't do anything, no, we can't. But if we start doing this Latino Initiative, we're going to kick off hopefully here within a few months a Black Caucus as well. I just, it's this kind of stuff that should have already been established, but wasn't. You know.
All right. So on that, like, what are what am I going to say here? I was going to start previewing the state races, but I don't think that's worth doing yet. Everybody's just starting pulling.
It literally just started. I think there's only it looks like 20 something candidates right now. And yeah.
All right. So to do a little bit of state races. So what's the recruiting process? Like, I saw a post, somebody put a post, it wasn't you, but somebody put a post up the other day that the Republicans are looking for a candidate for the new 90 in the state house.
Yeah. So
how's it
right now we're just doing an informal kind of feeler right before we actually start calling people and getting recommendations. But we threw a Facebook post out there to go, hey, we don't have anyone. I don't think there were any talks yet of having a candidate running in the new 90. So we just threw a Facebook post out there just to see if there's any traction, and also compare the analytics on that too, right? Like, do people want? How many times to get it shared? Who's sharing it? Is that a post that's kind of popular? Do people want us to be asking the public for input on that? So right now it's very informal, but we're going to start. We're going to start relatively soon. I think within the next week and a half, trying to get a candidate for every district.
So what is a cutoff for the state races petition draw?
Know
it off the top of your head. Come on, man.
April 7th, 2022.
April 7th. Okay. So that's not that. That's pretty quick turnaround. But because I think we've got some interesting races that we already know are going to happen, whether they're official or not. I think 18 is going to be fun again.
Our vice chair pulled a petition on that. Elaine Davis pulled a petition on February 8th.
Eddie announced yesterday, day before, that and he pulled his petition as well already. Matt told me that they have a candidate. He didn't tell me who they are yet, but the Democrats have a candidate for 18 again as well. So my mailbox is going to go apeshit on that one, like it did last time. That was probably the most intense. And again, maybe it's one of those I was paying more attention, but that District 18 race in 2020. I think on the website, on our website, I have a picture of my desk just covered with all the flyers I got, all the mailers I got just for District 18.
Wow. Okay.
Because there was who was it? The Senate seat was Massey, and I got nothing. I had both candidates. I talked to both candidates for the show, but I got nothing in the mail for that one.
Wow.
But that state house race went crazy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, GOP, we're going to continue to do, our mailers and our door knockers. Look, I'll tell you right now, getting involved in the city races was probably one of the most profitable years we had.
Right.
we didn't lose. We literally didn't even come close to losing a penny. In fact, in 2021, when we took over in March, from March until December 31st, we raised $100,000, and that's I don't think the party's done that in recent history in a long time. So, and I fully contribute that to getting involved in the city races. So we're coming into 2022 with a war chest. We're looking forward to spending that war chest on our candidates. Our candidates are coming into 2022 with a war chest. Like Devin Driscoll, I think, already raised over $100,000. So we're well funded. The party's well funded. Our candidates are well funded. We're going to do everything we need to do to make sure we win.
Word. All right. Well, then I'm going to do my 5 questions, even though you're not a candidate, just because I think it'll be fun.
Shoot it out.
All right. So, some of them aren't going to make really good sense because number one, I already know the answer to, but this is not your first run in politics, obviously.
Right.
But the second would be, what's your future in politics? Are you going to stay in the party side of the game, or are you going to get back out in the front and actually run for a seat at some point?
To be completely straight with you, I don't know. I will probably run for a second term, to be honest with you. But my business has been doing so well, Seth. Like, I don't know if I'm going to run for office in the future, because I'll be honest, I might just hire like 2 or 3 attorneys, right? And just be one of those law firms that have like, you know, 20 years from now, 10 lawyers working for them, like a T. Scott Jones, you know, and just really just living the dream. So I don't know. I don't have any plans to run for office again. Like, I did that twice already. I think I'm beat up on that. I like the party side of things.
Fair enough. All right. Number 2 is, what's your favorite ice cream, boss?
What's my favorite? What now?
Ice cream.
Ice cream.
Yeah. These are the important questions I ask every candidate.
I get a lot of crap for this, but I'm sticking to it. Is mint chocolate chip, man. Don't tell me it's toothpaste, because it's not.
I mean, I'm not mad at it.
Don't do it, Seth.
I'm not mad at that one. I mean, it's not my favorite, but, you know.
All right, well, what's your favorite, if you want me to ask?
I'm usually a cookie dough kind of guy. That's kind of my go-to.
Like cookie dough and all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, we got some fancy stuff. We got some, like, lavender pistachio something on a lark, and it was actually better than I thought it was going to be, but it's definitely not my favorite. All right, number 3, what's your favorite place here in town to eat?
Oh, favorite place in town. Have you ever been to Kazzy's?
Yeah, that's just down the street from me.
Oh man, that's my spot, dude. My wife introduced me there one day, and I was like, any chance I get, she goes, "What do you want to eat?" I was like, "Let's go to Kazzy's."
Where it's been a while. I need to go back. I think it was pre-pandemic last time I went there.
Oh yeah, really?
So it's been a minute. I mean, honestly, like, we don't go out to eat a lot anyway.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we've gone out and sat in a restaurant as a family. I'm trying to think of the last time we all went out, other than like a McDonald's on a road trip or something. It's been a minute. Anyway, number 4, and I know the answer to this one, but do you feel that partisanship is important for me, the voter, when it comes to elections? Do you think it has a net benefit for me, voter, not you, party, obviously?
For a voter?
Yeah.
I would say so. I think some races, honestly, maybe not. But like, you know, like for example, you know, I personally, I think judicial races are, right. You can hear both sides, right? Like, why does it matter if a judge is a Republican or Democrat? All they have to do is follow the state law anyway, you know? So I think there's a genuine discussion for that, but as GOP chairman, yeah, there is.
Yeah, exactly. I knew the answer to that one. All right. And then number 5 is, you know, tell me about a Democrat that you actually like.
Ooh, tell you about a Democrat I actually like.
Doesn't matter, state, local, federal. Pick one.
There was this one congressman who I was a big fan of. Oh my gosh, I don't remember his name.
You like him that much?
Well, I was a big fan of him at the time, but he's not even a Congress member anymore. I don't know if you remember him, but I want to say his name was Dennis something, but he was very much a Ron Paul of the Democrat side, and he ended up, I think he ended up eventually saying he was not going to run for Congress anymore. But I completely forget his name, but he was probably one of my favorite guys, because he was very much anti-war, very much anti-establishment too. I mean, really, I forget his name.
Well, I guess it counts. That guy that was an anti-war Democrat, that doesn't seem like a stretch.
Well, it depends on. Look, I'll tell you right now.
Nowadays, you're right. Recently, that's kind of changed. But
yeah, recently that changed. You know, I mean, look, George Bush being a Republican, you know, obviously, you know, we had the whole 9/11 and the Iraq War. But you know, when he actually ran for president, he was very much anti-interventionalist. So, and that's how I am. I'm a huge anti-interventionalist.
Yeah. So this Ukraine thing's fun. I mean, honestly, like, I'm not a big Biden fan, but the getting out of Afghanistan was great, and we can argue about.
I've been saying that for years, man, and I've been saying that for forever. There was no reason for us to be in there for that long. I mean, really, you know, and there's an argument that was there even a reason for us to be there in the beginning with, but you know,
right. But it was 4 presidents later before we decided that it's time to go. Well, I take that back. There was probably, you know, 2014, and everybody's like, okay, can we be done with this yet? And we still ground out for 8 more years before we finally got out. It was the worst. Anyway, that's the 5 question section. So if you think of his name, shoot me a text, and I'll clear the record so we can figure out who that person was.
Man, I'm telling you, I know for, gosh, why do I want to say, why am I hanging my hat on Dennis Kucinich right now? I want to say it was Dennis Kucinich from Ohio. Dennis Kucinich. That's who it is. That's exactly it.
All right, we figured it out, everybody.
that he was probably one of the Democrats I actually really did like. I don't know, man. It's just, I get painted often as like a radical, right? But I tell a lot of Democrats too. I was like, look, if you just talk to me, right? I think you and I will agree on a lot more than what you really think.
Right. I think in my experience, I think there's definitely been some candidates that I've talked to this cycle and in the past that are 100% adversarial, don't care. I'm just here to beat you. But I think for the most part, I don't know that I've had anybody on the show yet that I take that back. I know there's been a handful, but not many that I've had on the show that have been running for local seats that I got any feeling of this is some malicious intent kind of game that they're playing, that this is I want to do good. Now, my interpretation of good might not line up with your interpretation of good, but at least in the base principle in their own head, this is them putting forth effort to do good for the community they live in. Now, again, we can disagree on how and why and which ways and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, for the most part, everybody that I've talked to running in local races has had that base formula, I guess, inside their campaign, is that I'm here to do for my community. You will never
hear me say that there is a Democrat running in Knox County or Knoxville that completely wants to burn down the city and just do the absolute worst thing possible. Now, I think their policies may end up there, but I don't think they do it with the intent to like destroy the country. Right. Does that make sense? You know?
And I think that there's an important distinction to that. And I think that's one of the things that in the, what's the word I'm looking for here, in the quick serve media that we live in, we don't have time to talk about the nuance like that. That it is, they're bad, we're good.
By the way, we got our Facebook page back after being like banned for like 3 months now, and all they did was increase the visibility on it. We literally still can't post or message on there, so we have zero promotion of anything on Facebook.
Right? Because I get in trouble because I like to shit on the Dems page because they practice some terrible phrasing and I don't like it, and so I like to call them out for it, and everybody gets on me for not shitting on your page, and that's why, because I don't have anything to shit on because there's nothing going up.
There's nothing happening because
So the page is live. It's just but you can't post, like all your posts are.
Can't message. We can't do any of that.
Mm-hmm. Has there any explanation?
Well, no. So I was kind of shocked at it because when we got banned, right, there was no like message, no notification. It just said your post can't be posted at this time. So then I look it up, and I'm like, well, that's strange. The GOP page isn't even. The only reason why I'm seeing it is because I'm an admin on it. But like if I sign out and go on Facebook and ask my wife to look it up, she can't find it. So then I go into our page quality, right? That tells you like, hey, you've been flagged for this, this, and this, and this. And the page said no. It was like no errors, no violations, nothing. So I'm like, well, what the hell is going on, right? So I did an appeal. Like a month later or something like that, there was just no response, right? There was just nothing happened. It just said, hey, thank you. Facebook was like, hey, thank you for telling us you disagree with our decision. We'll reach out to you soon if something happens. I'm like, all right. True story. It was not until the Knox News Sentinel called us and said, hey, why is your page taken down? I'm like, I have no idea. Here are all my screenshots. True story. I'm going to tell you a true story.
Right. Okay? You sent them all to me too. I saw it.
Okay. All right, good. I sent them all the screenshots. I'm like, look, there were 0 page violations. Knox News Sentinel was like, BS, there's something there. We're going to find it. I'm like, good luck. Go ahead. Right. Because we were very conscious of what we post just to avoid this kind of stuff. News Sentinel calls Facebook, right, and their media department and goes, hey, why did the Knox County GOP page get taken down? And Facebook response by going, "Oops, it was an accident. We didn't mean to." Now I knew damn well why they were trying to dig, because they wanted to paint us as like this conspiracy.
Right. Well, that was that was one of the pushbacks that I did on the Knox Dennis page. It's like they put a post up that said, Knox GOP's Facebook page got taken down because conspiracy theory nonsense, blah blah blah.
And
blah,
it's
blah.
total BS because it's just not true.
Right. So I commented on there in my antithetical sort of way. It's like, hey, kid, where are the receipts for this statement?
Yeah.
Your post is saying that they got pulled for disinformation. Prove it. Which would,
I don't know what happened. Like, December 1st, everything was fine, and December 1st, afternoon, it was just gone.
Right. And so the idea is that, well, it's gone is proof enough. And it's like, I don't know. Is it? And as we have discovered, at least as far as I can see, is that no, it being gone is not proof enough. It's just it was gone and there's no explanation.
Right. So we had to start a new one because we can't post anything. So we literally started Knox County Republican Party, and that's where we've been pushing some of our stuff. But hey, the problem is we're starting from ground zero, right?
Right.
Like we had about 2,500, 3,000 followers on the other one. And that page actually got some traction last year. Like, it was getting hundreds of likes. People were sharing it. I did my best to upload news clips of city races and all that. And now, I think we have 20 something followers on our new page. So look, it is what it is. Facebook can ultimately do what they want, right? They're a private business. But I think it was pretty crappy of them to flag us, not give us an explanation, and only have our page visibility restored when a giant news media reaches out, right? Because clearly they didn't think it was enough to respond to us directly. They didn't want to tell us, hey, this was an accident. We looked into it. It wasn't until the USA Network reached out and said, what's going on?
Right. Yeah, because I can't pull that card.
I mean, you could probably try.
I could try, but they're going to be like, who are you? What network? And it's like, it's just me. Just some guy trying to figure out what's going on. All right, man. All right, so take the opportunity, plug your stuff. Obviously, plug your new Facebook page, whatever.
Knox County Republican Party. It's not Knox County GOP anymore, but it's Knox County Republican Party. I mean, you could always find the Knox County GOP page and see what we posted. But if you want to reach out, Facebook, that's our page. KnoxCountyGOP.com is our, we unfortunately tried to sync it with the Facebook name, but now that got jacked up. Or if you want to message me, Daniel Herrera, you can find me on Facebook. I try not to post politics on my actual personal page, but I'll post it on my Daniel Herrera public page. So, but yeah, reach out if you want to drop a donation. By all means, don't feel obligated to.
I have integrity to hold up with here. I've got my journalistic integrity.
If you're gonna pull our ballot, you might as well drop $5. Help us out.
I mean, I pull your ballot and that gives you stats. You're welcome.
There you go. I get. That's right. I get to say we had more Republicans voting. Seth, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
I appreciate taking the time of this early morning show. It only took us a half hour to wake up and actually start getting rolling because
I know
half a pot of coffee wasn't doing it for me this morning. So anyway, I appreciate taking the time. I'll reach out as I get more candidates going and stuff like that if I need help with anything. And I really appreciate you. I got an outro and we'll call it a day.
Yes, sir.
Daniel Herrera, everybody, the Knox County GOP chair. Great conversation, good stuff. I always enjoy talking to him, just like I always enjoy talking to Matt. They're right there at the end, like we were talking about. I honestly haven't gotten a chance to do it with Daniel and Matt yet, but when I had Randy and Matt sitting together, they're not the most adversarial people, as much as the media would make you feel otherwise. I think there's a lot of stuff that we can work together to go places with instead of it always being the other's the enemy kind of thing. So those are always fun for me. We're almost in agreement at gmail.com. You can find our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram page because they haven't taken us away for no good reason. Go to our website, almostinagreement.com. While you're there, I've got my jobs description page that's still under construction, but you can see it. If you have any corrections, please email us. And my voter guide for 22. And so that's got KGIS links, election commission links, so you can figure out where to vote, whether you're registered or not, what district you're in, that kind of stuff. And then as you scroll down, you're going to get every seat that's on the ballot, everybody that's running. If I've got a show with them, it'll have a link to it. If they've got a website or something like that, I've got a link to that in there as well. Go to your favorite podcast provider, give us a follow, and share it out. Tell everybody what's going on. Thanks, everybody.